because, this random dude knew where he lived and could probably hurt Jeremy, so I was worried about him. But he told me not to worry and that he'd get the money and that we can go home. So that's what we did. We went home. I remember on the drive back to my house, my friend and me were in the car, and I was looking at him, and I was like, dude, like, what the fuck has Jeremy got himself into, man? Like, this is bad. And my homie was like, yeah, man, like, he needs to think a little bit before he acts. And I was like, I know. And then my friend looks at me and he's like, do you think this dude that like he owes money to is going to like hurt him or some shit if he doesn't have it? And I was like, bro, I don't know. Like, I've never been in a situation like that. Like, that might be really bad. I wish you would have just taken the fucking money. And yeah, we chatted about it the whole way home pretty much. Now, fast forward to the next day. I FaceTimed Jeremy at about like 3 or 4 p.m. and he answers and it looked like he was still in bed, like he just woke up. And I was like, yo, man, what's going on right now? Like, what's up? And he's like, what's up, dude? And he seemed pretty calm. He seemed pretty, like, chill. And I was like, how's everything going? Like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, man, I'm good. And I was like, what's going on with that situation? Like, did you end up getting that money? Like, what's happening? He's like, yeah, man, I got most of it. And I was like, what do you mean you got most of it? Like, how much? He goes, I got about 200. So now Jeremy was only 100 short instead of 300 short. So I was confused. I was like, how'd you make $200 that fast? What'd you do? And he goes on to tell me that he sold his parents' TV. And I'm like, bro, you should have just taken my fucking money, dude. Keep in mind, guys, Jeremy's parents had a very nice, brand new, like 60-inch flat screen TV that was worth way more than $200, by the way. Like, I would argue this thing was probably worth brand new over $1,000. Like, so he probably sold it at some sketchy pawn shop and got nothing for it. And now his parents were going to come home from work that day and see that they are missing a TV and that their son sold it and still needed money when he could have just taken my money and it would have been over, right? So I didn't really know what to say at this point. Like, obviously there was a big part of me that wanted to be like, dude, why would you do that? That's so stupid. But he already did it. So like, what's done is done. So I just asked him, I was like, what are you going to do about the other 100? You're still short 100. He's like, honestly, man, I don't think they're going to freak out that much over $100 compared to 300. So I think I'm good now. I think I'm all good. And I was like, all right, did you text the dude about it? Like, did you say, hey, man, I got 200 now. Like, I'm only short 100. Is that okay? And he's like, nah, man, I'm just going to give him the money when he pulls up today. And like, that's going to be the end of it. And I was like, you're not going to tell him about it? And he's like, nah, man, I'm just going to give him the money. When he counts it and sees that I'm 100 short, I'm going to tell him like, that's as much as I could get. And that's it. And I was like, bro, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. So we talked for about 10 or 15 minutes after that about some other shit, and then we hung up after I said good luck to him, and a couple hours go by, and I don't really hear much from Jeremy. Until about 2.5, 3 hours, right? Then I get a phone call. This time it's just a regular phone call, not a FaceTime, from Jeremy, and I answer it, and I was like, hello, and no one says anything back. But I can hear like shuffling sounds, and like it sounds like noise, so I like put the phone on speaker and I turn it up to listen, and it sounds like someone heavily breathing, bro. Like someone running. And I'm like, hello, 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 Jeremy, you there, Jeremy? And I just keep hearing him breathe. And finally, after like 30 seconds, I hear him be like, Austin, are you there? Are you there? And I was like, yeah, dude, what's up? He's like, bro, can I come over? And I was like, sure, dude, are you okay? You sound like you're like out of breath. And he's like, bro, I've been running. I just ran like 2 blocks. I was chased. I was like, chased? By who? He's like, that guy, like he showed up with 3 people. And when I was short that 100, bro, they started jumping me. And I was like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. Like they only got a couple hits in. Like I got out of there. But like, bro, like they were outside my house and like my door's unlocked. I hope they didn't go inside. Like I hope they didn't take my shit, like rob my house. And I was like, bro, you think it might be a good idea to like just call the cops at this point, dude? Like they're probably gonna rob your house. Like these people don't sound reasonable. Like, and your parents live there, dude. Like, are they home? He's like, no, they're not home. Like they're out for dinner. And I was like, still, bro, I would just call the cops. And he's like, all right, man, I will. Because, dude, at this point, man, people were in danger, man. Like, Jeremy, his home, his family, his pets, like, he had dogs that lived there. Who knows if those people would have hurt them? Like, at this point, bro, I'm like, call the fucking cops. This is too far. So, about, like, 20 minutes later, maybe 30 minutes, Jeremy calls me back. And he's like, well, the cops went to my house and no one was there. They were gone. I was like, really? Like, you told them everything that happened? Like, they went and, like, checked it out and everything was okay? And he's like, well, I didn't tell him everything. I was like, what do you mean, bro? He's like, well, I didn't tell him about, like, the fact they were drug dealers or, like, the fact that, you know, I owed him money. I just said that I saw someone trying to snoop outside my house and I wanted to make sure no one was breaking in. And I was like, bro, like, why why not tell them the truth, bro? Like, I get that you're afraid of getting in trouble, but like, you're worried these people are gonna hurt your family, and like, that's nothing to fuck with, dude. Like, you didn't give the cops like the dude's name or anything, and he's like, nah, man, I was too scared. And honestly, I do understand what he was saying to an extent. Obviously, like, I would be afraid, but also, I'd be more afraid of what this dude's gonna do to my family. Anyway, after he told me that they had already left, which is, by the way, like the fastest police response I've ever heard. Like, it was like a half hour. It was crazy. But after he told me they already left, I was like, bro, you should probably call your parents and let them know, like, what's going on. To some extent, dude. Like, you don't want them to come home and then have that dude come back later with his friends and who knows what'll happen. Like, I would just call them up, tell them what's going on. And he's like, yeah, man, you're right. I was going to do that anyway. And I was like, all right, cool. Call me back when you're done. So about 10 minutes later, he calls me back, tells me that he told his parents the whole truth, and they had the same reaction that I kind of did, which was, maybe you should call the cops and tell them the truth. But he somehow convinced them not to call the cops. I don't know how. I don't know why. Whatever. But they got a hotel for the night that he was going to stay at. Yeah, man, these people were basically forced out of their homes for the night, and I felt pretty bad for them. But for some reason, they didn't want to call the cops, and Jeremy convinced them not to, so whatever, right? I don't know. But anyway, after Jeremy tells me all this, he asked me if it's okay if he stays at my house for the night, because he didn't want to stay in a hotel room with both his parents and his dogs. Now, I can't lie, at this point, I honestly didn't want Jeremy at my house, because I didn't know if they were following him or some shit, but he was my boy, and I felt bad for him, so I was like, you know what, man? Sure. So I let him come spend the night at my house. Now, about 40 minutes later, he pulled up. He like got food somewhere first. Then he pulled up to my house after. And we're just hanging out at my house in my room. No one at my house was home, by the way. This is when I still live with my mom. So like my mom was out at the time. I think she was either at dinner or she was at work late or something. All of my brothers were out with their friends. So I was just home alone, kind of playing Xbox when he pulled up. And then like 20 minutes later, I invited another friend over. It was actually the same friend that was with me like the day before. So yeah, we were all just hanging out at my house, and everything was fine for the most part. At this point, things were kind of winding down, it seemed, and it seemed like things were going to be okay. That was until something strange happened. So the way my room was set up at the time in my bedroom was I had my desk, my two monitors, my PC, my Xbox, and it faced the wall. And to the left of that desk was my window that outlooked the street and my driveway. And I remember playing COD, and Jeremy was right next to me, right? And he was looking out my window. I figured he was just like daydreaming or was being paranoid and was like making sure that, you know, person's car didn't pull up or something. When all of a sudden, he makes a face. I could see it out of the corner of my eye. He made like a really fucked up, scared face. And I looked over at him and I was like, Jeremy, are you good? You look like you just saw a ghost. He's like, bro, I don't want to say it because I don't know if it's real, but like, bro, I saw a car drive by that looked like the same car that he was driving when I saw him earlier. And I was like, the dealer? He's like, yeah, man. The car that he pulled up in with his homies, like it looked like that car. And I was like, did it stop or did it just drive by? And he's like, it just drove by. I was like, what kind of car was it? And he told me it was a Honda CR-V. And I was like, bro, you know how many people own a Honda CR-V? Like, bro, it's probably just like a random person in my neighborhood that lives here. Like, chill. He's like, nah, man, like his CR-V was different. One of the tires on the car was different than the rest. It looked like he was driving on like a spare tire or something. And I was like, okay, and the one you just saw also had that? He's like, yeah, man, I think so. I was like, all right, bro, once again, like maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe it's a Honda CR-V that has a spare tire. I don't know, man. But like it went by pretty fast probably. So maybe you didn't even see what you thought you saw. Maybe it was a whole different car. And I was just trying to talk him down because like it wouldn't make any sense. Like, obviously, they don't have my homie GPS tracked, right? So, like, why would they know where we are, especially, like, where I live? It wouldn't make any sense. So, I wasn't nearly as worried about it as he seemed to be, right? And same with my other friend. My other friend didn't seem to care either. He probably thought that our friend was just paranoid, like Jeremy was being paranoid or whatever. Anyway, after that, we just go back to me playing COD. They're watching, and Jeremy keeps periodically looking out the window to the left. And then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see him making that face again right after a car drives by. This time, I like poked my head to the window and like looked at the car that was driving by. And I hate to say it, but it was a Honda CR-V and it was driving on like a spare tire. Like one of the tires was different than the other three. And I looked at Jeremy and he looked at me and he's like, bro, did you see it? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, bro, like, that's gotta be him. That's gotta be him and his friends, like, looking for us. And I was like, yeah, dude, but like, how would they know where you are? Like, you don't have a GPS tracker in your head. Like, they wouldn't know. And he's like, yeah, man, but like, why would it go around twice like that? It went around your block twice. And honestly, Jeremy had a good point, bro. It was very sketchy that this car circled our block twice because they were either lost or they were looking for something. Now, the good news was, even if that was the dealer and his, goons driving around looking for us, Jeremy's car was in my garage. He parked in the garage and the garage was closed. So they didn't know which house specifically Jeremy had his car at and like couldn't see his car to confirm. So like he didn't know where Jeremy was. So I turned to my right, I looked at Jeremy and I was like, bro, listen, if that car circles around the block like once or twice more, then we can assume it's them. Cause then it's like, all right, bro, they're looking. And he's like hyperventilating. He's like, all right, man. All right. Now after that, about 10 minutes goes by and no cars go by. So I thought we were in the clear. I thought this shit was like a coincidence or like just like not what we thought and that it probably was just some random person. That was until, we saw the car drive by again. This time, they slowed down incredibly slow right outside of my house to the point where they were almost stopped. And then they pulled into my driveway. And I was shitting myself. I was also incredibly confused because I still did not know how this car would know where we're at. And the next thing I know, the doors open, all of the doors, and like 4 motherfuckers get out. But anyway, they start coming towards my house. And one of them starts coming towards my window. Now, immediately, I turned my TV off because fucking our light was already off in the room. So it was pretty hard to see through our window and see us. But like with the TV off, now it was pitch black in there and they couldn't see us. And yeah, one of these dudes approaches my window and is like trying to look through it into my bedroom. And they can't see us because it's very dark. And then one of them starts pounding on my front door and yelling, let us in, let us in. Now, I am shitting myself, Jeremy is shitting himself, and my other friend, guess what? He's shitting himself. And I look at Jeremy and I'm like, motherfucker, it's time. Call the fucking cops, bro. And he was already ahead of me, bro. He already had his phone in his hand and he was dialing it. Like, I didn't even have to say shit. And he jumped on the phone with the cops. Well, these guys are literally like tapping on my window and like going around my house looking for a way in. One of them keeps pounding on the door, yelling, let me in. And I am like just freaking out because I'm just in the middle of a situation that I essentially should not be in. I mean, some of that is my fault. I probably shouldn't have let Jeremy stay with me, but like still, I did not think it would escalate to this. So let me just say, the next 10 minutes to 15 minutes before the cops pulled up felt like a fucking eternity because literally they kept circling my house. Like 2 of them kept walking around, like checking the windows, seeing if they're open and like knocking on doors and shit. Cause I had a back door, a side door, then like my front door. And then there was these other 2 that were in the front, just pounding on my front door and like pounding on the front window. And I'm so happy that I'm a paranoid motherfucker and I keep everything locked when I'm home alone. I had all the windows locked, all the doors, all the blinds shut for the most part, besides my own bedroom blinds, but it was dark in there so they couldn't see. But like, dude, I'm so happy because if I was dumb and I left any of that shit unlocked, they were trying to open stuff. Like I could hear them trying to like pull on the windows and stuff. So like they literally could have jumped right through and came inside my house and hurt us. But yeah, man, that like 10 to 15 minute span where you're waiting for the cops and Jeremy was on the phone with them, it felt like an eternity because I felt like at any given moment, one of them was going to get into my house and we were going to be seriously fucking hurt. And then like, I don't know, a minute later, these guys all hop in their fucking car and they drive off. No joke, like a minute before the police pull down my street and pull in my driveway, these guys were gone. It's like they knew they were coming. Honestly, if I had to guess, that's probably why they hopped in the car and left. Maybe they heard sirens or something, but it's crazy that they had the timing so perfectly. Like, these dudes pulled off my street, probably on the other end, as the same time the cops pulled down my street. Like, it was just crazy. And the cops pulled up. They sent like 4 cars. We went outside. We talked to them, told them everything that happened. This time, Jeremy was a little bit more honest with them. He didn't tell them that he was selling shrooms, but he did say that these guys were like a dealer and his friends, and Jeremy told the cops that he owed this guy money. Jeremy didn't say why he owed him money, but the cops probably understood. But they were actually really cool about it, surprisingly. I thought they'd be a lot more like, weird about it and like try and get Jeremy in trouble, but they were just kind of trying to figure out who these guys were and like how to find them. Also, he was talking to the cops about how he called them out earlier to his house, and these were the same people. And he basically told the cops that he didn't tell them the whole truth earlier. And once again, they were cool about that too. Now after this, they sent cops to like all the nearby like major locations, like the mall and like anywhere nearby that these guys could be at. But no luck really with that. They didn't find him. And Jeremy had no idea where this dude lived, like the dealer. He had no idea where he lived. He just knew the dude's name. His first name too, not even his last name. But Jeremy did have his phone number. And with the phone number, that told him a little bit more about the guy. Now the whole rest of that day/night was very like just on edge, I would say. Like everyone was super on edge. The cops could not find the dude. They like got an address through his phone number and checked it out, but he wasn't there. And like just the dude was like on the run. It was crazy. Like the dude and his friends were just on the run. But pretty much the whole night went by and nothing really happened. It wasn't until the next day where things get even more interesting. So they kept a police officer on my street pretty much the whole night and one over by Jeremy's house. So if they came back, they'd catch him, but they didn't come back. And the next morning rolled around and we talked to the police again, and they still were having no luck. And I'm at a point where I'm just trying to like get back to living life, you know, like I don't want to be in the middle of this anymore. So I asked them, I'm like, can I just like have my friend here, Jeremy, go back to his house with his parents and like I can just go back to being out of the way? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. He can go home if he wants. And he was completely down for that. And he wanted to be with his family anyway. But they did say they were going to have someone patrolling the street still for like pretty much the whole day and night just for one more night to be safe. And that was fine by me because I did not want those motherfuckers to pull up thinking Jeremy was at my house again. So anyway, Jeremy ends up going home. The cops leave. I'm now at my house by myself. My other friend went home, by the way. Forgot to mention, my mom came home while the police were there that night, and I had to fill her in on what was going on. And she was pretty mad at me. I can't lie. Totally forgot to mention that. But she didn't ground me or anything. She knew it wasn't my fault. And she knew I was just trying to help my friend. But, you know, she was pretty upset. But anyway, yeah. Now it's just me, my mom, and my brothers at home. And I'm just going back to my normal life, right? I'm just making videos, playing video games, trying to not think about the craziness of the last few days, right? And like I said, they had a police car patrolling my street still. So like every 10 to 20 minutes, I would see this dude like drive by and like keep an eye on my house. And yeah, most of the day was pretty normal. I thought that it was finally over. I thought like, you know, that drug dealer dude and his friends knew that the cops were involved now and that they would back off and that I would never see them again, and neither would Jeremy and his family. And I thought it was good, man. I thought it was done. That is until later that night rolled around. I was very wrong. It was not done. So about 9 or 10 o'clock rolls around, right? And I'm having a good night. Like, at this point, most of my anxiety is faded about the whole situation. I am playing CSGO on my PC. I have my window cracked. It's a nice summer night. I'm enjoying life, right? Now, like I said, I had my window open and my blinds were up. And while I was playing CS, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. I noticed lights, pretty bright lights, like in the corner of my eye. And I heard like the sound of tires going up my driveway. Now, at first, I thought it was food that I ordered because I had just ordered food, but like it had been way too fast. There was no way that was my food. So I looked to my left, and it is none other than a Honda CR-V sitting all four of those motherfuckers, bro. The same people. And they get out the car and they start coming up to my window again. And this time they see me in there. I had my light on, my window was open, like they saw me. And I immediately slammed the window and locked it. And I yelled to my mom in the other room. I was like, lock the fucking door. And she did. And luckily all the other windows were locked. And we're once again just in the house. And these people are trying to get in. And I'm once again having a fucking panic attack. My mom's freaking out. My brothers are freaking out. I feel terrible. And Jeremy isn't even there, by the way. And they're like banging on my window. And they're like, where the fuck is he? Where is he? And I'm yelling back, he's not here. He's not here. And they don't believe me. And they're trying to like pound on the window and break it. And thank fuck, man. Like, not even a minute or two later, that police car came around my block to patrol, and he saw them. And he pulled in immediately, jumped out his car, and had all of them sitting down on the curb within like 20 seconds. He had them all just sitting there. A couple of them were in cuffs, and then another cop pulled up like 5 minutes later and put the other ones in cuffs, and they had like everything locked down. It was nice. Like the situation was under control. So after this, the cops talked to me and my mom and was like just getting, what happened from us. And we were telling them like, they just pulled up and started banging on my window and started trying to get in the house looking for Jeremy. And I tried telling them like he's not there, but they didn't believe me and kept trying to get in. And yeah, we just basically told the cops what happened, right? Now, apparently, the dude, the main like drug dealer guy, the one that was like, the one looking for Jeremy, not his friends, but the main guy, he had a warrant out for his arrest already for some other shit. And he'd already been in jail before, apparently. So he was about to get locked up for a very long time. The rest of his friends, as far as I know, they weren't as like in deep shit as he was, but they also got in trouble. They literally assaulted Jeremy like 2 days prior because they jumped him and then like they were trying to break into my house pretty much. So yeah, they also got in trouble. I'm not sure what the exact charges were, but they got in trouble. But yeah, essentially all those motherfuckers got arrested that night and like taken in. Now, you're probably thinking that's the end of it, right? Like, what else could possibly happen? Or, like, what else could unfold that would surprise me at this point? So, throughout all of this, right, we didn't know how they knew Jeremy was at my house, right? Because, like, obviously, yeah, they knew where Jeremy lived and where Jeremy's house was because they knew Jeremy and they had to drop off, like, the shrooms to his house or whatever. But my house, where Jeremy was, like, hiding out at, there's no explanation as to why they knew where he was, and I just didn't get it. Like I said, he didn't have a fucking GPS tracker in his brain or something. Like, it's not like he was a dog. He wasn't chipped. So I just didn't understand how they knew where to find him on my street and, like, at my house specifically. And neither did the cops. Like, literally, the cops asked him that first time we called him over to my house and, like, talked to them, like, how would they know that he was there? And we didn't have answers. And, like, we just didn't get it, right? Well, after the cops arrested everybody and, a couple days went by, Jeremy calls me up and he's like, bro, you're never going to guess what I just figured out. And I was like, what? And he goes, dude, before I say it, you're going to be mad at me. And I was like, I'm not going to be mad at you, bro. Just like, tell me. He goes, I figured out how they were tracking us down that night. Like how they knew that I was at your house and like how they knew where to go and like where you lived and that I was there. And I was like, okay, how did you figure that out? Like what? Like, were they hacking you? Did they track your phone? Like what happened? He's like, bro, they were tracking my phone. Now, when he said this, I thought he meant like they fucking had some crazy hacker motherfucker like install some shit on his phone, right? No, he was sharing his location with somebody, not just anybody. So apparently, to add like even more fuel to the fire, Jeremy was sleeping with the dealer's sister. Yeah, this drug dealer, I guess Jeremy knew him through this girl he was sleeping with. And he was sharing his location with her. So when the guy wanted to find Jeremy, when Jeremy was hiding, he just grabbed his sister's phone, got the address of his location, and drove over there. And from that point forward, I'm assuming he just guessed which house he was in, because, even having someone's GPS, like, it won't usually take you to the exact point where they're at. It'll take you, like, very close to it, though. So yeah, they probably just, like, drove over there to where the GPS told them to go, and then like, oh yeah, this house is the closest. Let's just try and bang on this one. But yeah, I guess they guessed correctly. So after he told me this, I was like, yo, you didn't think to tell me that like you were banging a girl that was related to the drug dealer? Also, he told me that she was sharing location too, because they were like kind of dating. Why wouldn't he tell the cops that, bro? Like he could have told the cops, yeah, there's this girl I'm with, like she's related to him. Here's her location. They live together. And it would have been way easier to find him. And this dumb motherfucker, Jeremy, goes, it just didn't cross my mind. I'm like, how? How does that not cross your mind? He's like, I don't know, man. Like, I was just so overwhelmed. I didn't even think about it. And I was like, bro, you drive me fucking insane. And this brings me back to what I was saying very early on in the video. He just doesn't think sometimes, bro. Like, he just acts and doesn't think. I loved him to death, but he was a fucking stressful person to be around for that reason. And that leads me to my final and next point. Me and Jeremy fell out after this. We stopped being friends for many reasons. One just being every time I'd hang around him, I'd get into some fucking shit that I didn't want to be involved in. But unfortunately, and this is the real finale here, the motherfucker robbed me like a week later. Yeah, he didn't like pull up on me and like rob me at gunpoint or something. But like a week later, I had a party at my house and I caught him fucking stealing. He went into my mom's room, stole her jewelry, and then went into my office room and stole a bunch of my shoes. And I caught him doing it. I could probably make a whole nother story about this, but like, honestly, like, I'm just gonna put it in this, because it really is just one big fat fuck you cherry on top, right, to me. So yeah, he ends up stealing my shoes and my mom's jewelry, and I caught him. I was in my room at this party, right, with this friend of mine. It was just me and her in my room, and we were just chilling, right? We weren't doing anything. We were just talking, hanging out. She wasn't feeling good, so I let her come in my room to charge her phone and chill out for a sec. And while we're there in my bedroom, I look out my window into my driveway, and I see Jeremy loading up his car with stuff that belongs to me. I saw him bring out my mom's jewelry box. I saw him bring out some Nike boxes that were shoes from my office downstairs. And I remember this friend of mine, this girl, she goes, "Is he robbing you right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be right back." And I stood up, I walked outside. As he was getting in his car, I opened his door and I was like, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" He's like, "Oh, hey man, yeah, I'm just going home. I don't feel very good." I was like, "Oh, what do you feel?" He's like, "Just sick to my stomach." I was like, "Okay, did you smoke or something? Did you drink anything? Are you okay?" He's like, "Nah, man, I think I have the stomach flu or something. I started feeling weird this morning and it's just only gotten worse." And I go, "Yeah, you know what a really good remedy for the stomach flu is?" He's like, "What?" I was like, rest and drinking plenty of fluids and making sure you can keep water down and that kind of stuff. You know what isn't a good remedy for the stomach flu? He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Stealing your fucking best friend's shit." And his face immediately just dropped. And I was like, "Yeah, dude, what the fuck is in the back seat?" And I pointed at the back seat and he's like, "Oh, that's nothing, bro. That's just my stuff." And I was like, "Nah, bro, I saw you loading your car up. Open the fucking door." And he unlocked the back door. I opened it. Sure enough, dude, Nike boxes, my mom's jewelry box, even more shit that I didn't even see was back there. And I start unloading it. And I was like, "Yo, I never want to fucking talk to you again. I thought you were my homie. I just was in one of the craziest situations of my life with you. And I thought that was a testament to our friendship. But nah, man, apparently it's fuck me." He's like, nah, man, I don't want you to think that. Bro, I fucking love you, bro. You're always gonna be my brother for life." I was like, "Yeah, dude, brothers don't rob each other. You know that, right?" He's like, "Dude, no, it's not what you think. It's not what you think." And I was like, "Motherfucker, what is it then? You're stealing from my mom and me. So what is it?" And he just couldn't say shit. There was no explanation, bro. He was stealing from me. And dude, it really does hurt to think and talk about. Cause bro, me and him were friends for so long prior to this, dude. This motherfucker I met in middle school. We were friends for years and hung out all the time. And our moms knew each other. And I'd sleep at his house all the time. And he'd sleep at my house all the time. And we'd spend birthdays together. Motherfucker, we went on vacation together. Our families went on vacation together once. To have someone like that turn around and backstab you after going through one of the craziest weeks of your life with them is nuts. Truly. It's probably the most backstabbed I've ever felt. I've dealt with being backstabbed by friends before and girlfriends and a lot of people, man. But dude, I was hiding my boy from a dangerous drug dealer and he still turned around and fucking stole from me less than 2 weeks later. Yeah, man. Crazy shit. And really is just the shit cherry on top, bro. I thought it couldn't get any worse. I thought my life was going to be so boring for the next few months, but nah, dude. Already had something happen. But yeah, man, that is pretty much where it ended. I cut him off. We stopped being friends and I was over it. Also, my other friends cut him off because obviously if he was willing to rob me, they'd probably not want him around their houses either. So he lost more than me, man. He lost a couple other friends of ours. But yeah, dude, really shitty. Now, I would say moral of the story is don't steal from people, but there's a million morals to this story. And moral of the story is don't steal from people, don't sell drugs, what else? Don't do any of the stuff that Mr. Jeremy did in this story. If you ever find yourself in a situation similar, just call the fucking cops, man. It ain't worth trying to act tough. But yeah, man, this was overall one of the craziest weeks of my entire life. And it's one of my favorite stories to tell. And I'm happy I'm finally bringing it to you guys today. This is, I think, the longest story on my entire channel. I'm sorry it didn't hit an hour exactly. I thought it would just because I usually tell this story to my friends and it takes quite a while, but I don't know. For some reason, it's only 45 minutes. I'm also sorry it took me a while to upload this. This was supposed to be up on Saturday or Sunday, but I underestimated how long it was going to take me to record this. It took me a few days to do this just because I kept getting interrupted by a bunch of personal life shit, but I'm finally bringing it to you and I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this long story and you want more videos like this long, because this is long, this is longer than usual. This is almost an hour, man. Leave a like on the video and I will do more of them. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below and subscribe if you're new. I will see you all later. Peace.
I be fully loaded, I be whipping foreign cars. Always stay devoted, mama.